What's up, everybody? It's time for us to do another episode review for Season 3 of Ragnarok, and this one is Episode 7, entitled Satan. Now, as you guys can tell, I'm still glued to the back of my chair. My breathing is still giving me a little bit of grief here with the bruised ribs, lung, etc. on the side, but we're going to try to go it nice and slow, and I'm not going to talk a mile a minute like I normally do. Just going to take slow breaths. We'll get through this together. But I couldn't wait. I wanted to watch more of this season. And even though my back seems to have some peaks and valleys, I want to talk about this. Okay, so quick disclaimer, edit, whatever you want to call it right here. I know it feels a little choppy already to do it this early on in the video, ladies and gentlemen. But just want to bring up the fact that I initially say that we are going to, spoiler tag. We're going to bring up the big spoiler marker. And we still will here and there throughout the video, but I'm just going to say it right here, right now. If you're an anime-only viewer, this is pretty much 95% manga information that is past where Season 3 ends off. So even if you're caught up with the end of Season 3, there's still manga spoilers ahead in this video. They are all throughout the video because we have a lot to discuss in regards to Beelzebub here and his backstory. In regards to some of the latest developments in the manga, and so I do a lot of talking about that. So if you're an anime-only one, I would urge you to just basically straight up skip this episode review, and we'll try to keep it. I think I got all the information and everything that's relevant out in this episode, so feel free to watch, up to episode 6, and then skip this episode review and go to episode 8 when that one comes out, because I do try to keep the manga spoilers to a minimum, but there's a reason I had to talk about manga spoilers in this particular episode given what the episode contained. So just letting you guys know that going forward, because there's not enough warnings and I didn't want to have a big sticker label across the entirety of the video the entire time, because then it's just, then that's just silly. So anyways, hopefully the manga, people caught up with the manga readers, hopefully you stick around, and anime-only viewers, I suggest ya vamos. At least for this one. Come back for the next one. Alright, on with the rest of it. Initially, when this came out in the manga, and there's no spoilers here quite yet, there will be a spoiler tag. You'll have the big, thing that I usually put up across the screen saying spoiler warning when it happens. And I'll probably mention it in audio. For right now, we're not talking spoilers. We're just talking the comparison from what happened in this episode, the backstory of Beelzebub, to the manga. And for those of you who have seen my streams and watched when I live reacted to this backstory, the backstory itself was fine, but rather long for a backstory, which in the end of the day, it just told us that Beelzebub was bipolar, schizophrenic, whatever you want to call it. He would fall asleep, and boom, he would turn into he is Satan. That's what's basically told to us in this episode as well. He basically is cursed by Satan. No. It's just that when he's cursed somehow with this love thing, he's cursed, and when he finally actually feels an attachment towards someone and falls asleep, his dark side, his second personality, whatever you want to call it, Satan, arises in Beelzebub and ends their life. And at the time, it was very disheartening, for me anyways, because Beelzebub seemed to be an emo, priest getup. Like, he was this emo scientist. He wasn't a fun, crazy scientist like Mayuri from Bleach or something like that. He wasn't a sophisticated scientist like the one he's going to be going up against in this round, which was the beginning of the episode with Tesla. Obviously, the very first electrician. I am an electrician, so he's electrician ground zero for everything that I do. So, obviously, I have a lot of, respect, and I love the interpretation that they did with Tesla here, especially the metal pigeon, the robot pigeon. I love that. I love that little touch. But yeah, back to the backstory of Beelzebub. At the time, I didn't like it because I was thinking Beelzebub was going to be basically what Lucifer was in the backstory. I wanted Beelzebub out of all. If you're going to do the 7 crown princes, right? If that's the route you're going to take, and you're going to have Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, Leviathan, etc., then if this is the one that was chosen for Ragnarok, it better be a damn badass interpretation. But they went with the emo, like twink boy, whatever you want to call it, and he's got such an emo backstory of leave me alone, I'm so moody, I'm so like everyone who gets near me ends up, and he's convinced that it's Satan stuff. So the reason I think that this works in the episode is similar to how I felt now about round 7. Going into round 8, I was not a huge fan about the amount of time spent on Beelzebub's backstory. And by the way, spoiler alert in 1, 2, 3, we're not finished with Beelzebub backstory. Beelzebub gets more than just that. He gets an entire episode of backstory, and there's still more. Yeah, he gets, I believe somebody said he gets like 128 pages of backstory in the manga. The next down from that is like 63. He gets double the amount of pages of backstory of across any of the other characters. Any character in Ragnarok, and he is definitely not one of the best written. He's not poorly written, but for the amount of time we spent on his backstory, the amount of time we spent with him, you'd think he'd be the best written character. But screen time does not equal great writing, right? One of the best written characters, we would argue, would be Jack the Ripper, and he, I believe his backstory was 41 pages. So it's all about quality, not quantity, when it comes to writing character. And Beelzebub sort of, like, once again, nothing against him, but we just took an entire episode, all about Beelzebub's backstory. We're not done, and realistically, the episode just says, hey, he falls asleep and becomes Dexter. That's the long and short of it. He's an emo kid who thinks he's cursed by the devil, but it's his own damn fault. He's the one becoming the devil in his sleep. He's just got some hardcore schizophrenia. He's got that movie Identity happening. That's all that's happening, right? And that would be true. And you guys think, I'm saying all this, once again, there's a spoiler warning up here right now. For those of you who are not caught up with the manga. The thing is that there are 2 reasons why this now works way better as a backstory, knowing what we know in the manga. But let's talk about spoiler-free A. Now, once again, the spoiler tag is going to be all, carpet bomb throughout this review at this point. So if you haven't read the manga, maybe this review isn't for you. It is what it is, because I've got to talk about this, because it's so relevant. But the spoiler-free thing is the voice acting. The animation and the voice acting, of course, the pacing feels a lot better when you're cutting up like a 60-page chapter, but you're condensing it into one episode. It doesn't feel as long and drawn out, like, oh my god, we waited 2 months, we got this huge chapter, and it's just his backstory. That's all we get. And in this case scenario, we're getting it done it's not even compartmentalized, it's just done well. It's just handles it, and they don't add any fluff, because it's already got plenty of that in the manga, in the original source material. So when they adapt it, the animation, definitely, of course, the score, the narration, and the voice acting. The voice acting, just like in round 7, is really selling this. Anime does things that manga cannot do. As much as we know that the manga has far superior art to the anime, that goes without question. The art style in Record of Ragnarok cannot be properly translated, or at least it hasn't been done successfully yet, I would argue. It's been done to a decent level, but nowhere near the same level of quality, into anime form. But what anime can give you is sound, is another sense to use. So not only are we seeing with our eyes, we're of course hearing with our ears. and we get both score and we get voice acting. And these two components really elevate this, in my opinion. I think Beelzebub voice actor especially sold the idea that even though his appearance gives this woe is me Eeyore character, his voice acting has a lot of range to showcase when he's actually happy, when he's actually traumatized, and when he's not just a woe is me character with a drawl, you know what I mean? He definitely, there was a lot of range with the voice acting depending on the scene and what it called for, when he was, you know, yelling or crying, or when he was upset versus when he was just being morose and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that aspect, so kudos to that. The spoiler part of this, and I believe we brought this up when this was first revealed, but here's the spoiler part from the current chapters of the manga, is that Satan, even though here in the Beelzebub backstory we were basically told, oh yeah, he sort of transforms into Satan. There is no Satan per se. He is Satan. He sort of has a secondary power-up, you know what I mean? He gets some claws when he falls asleep. The hollow takes over from Bleach. The chakra takes over, you know, the Nine Tails takes over in Naruto. The whatever, you know, the Domi Reversi from One Piece. Every single manga has this, you know, the dark side of their character, you know what I mean? And that's what that's what they sold. That's what they presented on paper. I think that was a mistake the way they presented it by trying to wait for this big reveal, but nothing has actually come about from it quite yet, is that Satan actually exists in Record of Ragnarok as an individual. In fact, one of the primordial gods still remaining and trapped. But Satan, as a god, as a deity, exists. It is not just a split personality problem. It is not a just some random curse of character. He is cursed. It was all true. The rumors of him being cursed by Satan were true, and somehow he takes over the body even from the void that he is currently in. We don't know the details of this yet. But Satan does exist. Beelzebub was actually cursed by him, and basically everything we thought we knew in this backstory goes out the window, and so the level of mediocre writing, or just ease of use, or whatever you want to call it, it all works out in this case, because now watching this again, I'm sure if I went back and reread the manga, it would definitely, I wouldn't be as aggrieved like I was initially when it first dropped, because I didn't have this information. Now that on top of, once again, watching with our ears as well as our eyes, also just having that extra information, how it's all coming full circle, and realizing, okay, this isn't just a very long drawn out, he's got an evil side like every manga character ever that comes out and does evil shit. The fact that it's not just that and done in a really piss poor way, but it truly is everything that was rumored in the narrative, everything that was like, oh, he's cursed, blah, 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 and Satan exists, and he tried to find Satan. There is no Satan. Hades exists, of course, and all these gods, but he does not exist. You know, Beelzebub exists, and Hades exists, and, you know, we have Odin and Loki. We have all these gods, but they could not find Satan. So Satan must not exist. Then to have the reveal that he does exist adds a huge other dimension to it, and I really, really enjoy that. So while the backstory was initially, it is too long from the manga perspective, it's drawn out, it is too long, and this isn't even the end of his backstory. Beelzebub gets a lot of screen time for being a decent written character, but certainly not the best written of Ragnarok with less screen time. However, the anime only improves on this, and if you are a manga reader like I am, and you understand that there is more to the story, then it adds that extra layer of depth to the tragedy and the despair that Beelzebub is actually going through. So that elevates the character, it elevates the backstory, and it elevates this episode. So yeah, you know what, I'll probably just have to leave a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. I'll make a quick edit and just say, okay, this is just basically not a spoiler-free episode or whatever like that, and then just go from there. But yeah, so don't think there's anything more to talk about. He kills some of the cooler characters. You know, he kills off Azrael. He kills off Lucifer. He kills off these angels and stuff, right? Then he kills off Lilith, who is trying to also find Satan to get revenge for the fact that Lucifer was killed. We find out, you know, he finds out after he stabs Lilith and stuff like that. You know, he kills Lilith, and he realizes that he's been the cause of it the whole time, so that's why he's going out of his way to find someone who kills him. But this is where he's still wrong for the Zero Fuku stuff, is because he learned nothing. He literally caused Zero Fuku to become... He became the new Satan. He literally became Satan because he created Zero Fuku with the intention of a being that could kill him, because he wants to die now for everything he's done. He wants to die. Fine, dandy, whatever. But let's take this into account. But the fact that he does that, right, means that he's no better than the one that he cursed and swore revenge on. He created another one of him. And so he's so twisted that Beelzebub doesn't get a free pass for that. Because Satan cursed him, and now Beelzebub cursed Zero Fuku. See what I'm saying? So he's still not a very redeemable character. I don't think Beelzebub is very likable in that regard. And he's definitely not on my top 10 list. But he certainly is a character. And if you're caught up with the manga, and the anime certainly helped, then this backstory is much less egregious and feels way less drawn out and not as winded as it originally did, in my opinion. So, anyways, that's it for me, guys. That's about as much as I think my lungs can take for reviewing and stuff this time. Bruised lungs suck. Don't do it, as far as I'm aware. So, like, comment, and subscribe as always, and we'll see you guys back here next time. Have a good one, and we're going to catch up on episode 8 shortly after this. So, stay tuned for that. See ya.